So today I'm gonna respond to a speech by Andrew about the legalization of marijuana and its significant benefits for the nation. So Andrew claimed that his first claim was that marijuana positively affects the growth of the economy. His second claim was that marijuana legalization does not harm human health. And thirdly, that there are many people who aren't well informed of marijuana, and this would delay or stop the legalization of marijuana. So concerning his first points that marijuana would help the growth of the economy, Andrew says that mentions that Colorado and Washington that have legalized recreational marijuana would see an economic boom. But about Colorado, Phyllis Resnick, the lead economist for the Colorado Future Center at Colorado State University, says that all these promises that get made about free money and to solve problems, marijuana is not going to be that. Marijuana revenue is not going to be the budget workhorse. So although there will be increases in the revenue, the numbers are not high enough to as everyone expects. The second point is that cannabis does not harm human health. Andrew mentions that cigarettes and alcohol are more harmful than cannabis. However, I don't see how that affects the health benefits of marijuana. The flaw in his argument is that marijuana should be legalized because other substances are harmful and they are legal, but this doesn't prove that marijuana does not do the same. The White House website quotes a research done by the Academic Unit of Psychiatry at the University of Bristol in the UK, and it suggests that chronic marijuana use may increase the risk of schizophrenia, and high doses of the drug can produce acute psychotic reactions. His third point was that the general public is uninformed of marijuana, and Andrew claims that marijuana is not addictive. However, Dr. Alan J. Budney, a professor of psychiatry and research at the University of Arkansas, states that there are several specific effects of marijuana abstinence in heavy marijuana users. They were reliable and clinically significant. These withdrawal effects appear similar in type and magnitude to those observed in studies of nicotine withdrawal. Andrew also said that alcohol is the gateway drug because heroin and cocaine use addicts began their drug use with alcohol. But this information is distorted because if tomorrow I become a cocaine addict, I can say that cough syrup started it because I used cough syrup, but I didn't abuse it. So in conclusion, I'm not claiming against the legalization of marijuana. However, I think that Andrew's evidence was not enough to support his claim that legalization of marijuana would benefit the nation. Thank you.
All right, Chuck, everything is easy to follow for the most part. I like the argument on the first point about economic growth, which basically diminishes the argument to say that it's not likely to be a panacea, a long-term solution for all of these kinds of problems. I'm not sure that the advocate made that kind of promise, but I'll tell you that I know a lot of people have made those kinds of promises as a result of the idea of legalization of marijuana. So I think that that does put a little bit of a cap on it. But all you have is a general piece of evidence that talks about that. It's not very specific. It's not analytical of any of the data of the two states that have done the legalization yet. So it feels a little skimpy. On the argument about human health, I do think that you have a good reasoning challenge here. asking how the information about tobacco and alcohol is relevant to a question about whether marijuana is in fact safe. And then you cite the study that talks about schizophrenia and psychotic issues. And I think that one of the things that you want to point out is that health is not just whether or not people live or die, but it is the condition under which they live or the world in which they function. And so somebody who gets schizophrenia or has psychotic episodes as a result of this, they certainly have difficulties and disabilities. Have they died? No. Have they lost the use of a limb? No. But there is a problem that's going on here. So when we talk about health, we need to define what we are talking about when it comes to health, and then make the argument that there are these other kinds of health issues. I like the evidence that you had on that. I just think you need to sell it a little bit more strongly. And then on the issue of the addictive nature of marijuana, you've got a little bit of evidence that suggests that it has addictive effects, which I think is helpful. I could not really hear and I could not understand. It sounded like you were making a cough drop comparison on that last section. Yeah, and you need to slow down a little bit and explain what you're saying, because it was not as clear as it should be. I think I understand the idea behind it just because people have used something ahead of time, but that seems like it's the same reasoning that the advocate used on this particular point. I think that you want to go back to the evidence that you had right before that and say, we do know that people who use marijuana have these particular effects. Is there any indication that people have difficulty quitting or stopping using marijuana? Do we know that? Whether or not it's a gateway drug may be less important than whether or not it is addictive. And that seems like you've got the good argument on addictiveness. I'm not sure about your argument on it being a gateway drug. All right. Thank you.